Well, staying with the UK, because the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has signalled that he will struggle to achieve two of his five governance priorities laid out earlier on this year, and reducing waiting lists at the National Health Service is one of them. And as I mentioned as well in the previous story, it's also halving inflation by the end of the year. Now, Sunak was giving an interview to radio channel Leading Britain's Conversation before heading to California on a family holiday. Now, he's urging the public to trust him with the economy, while admitting that inflation is not falling as fast as he would like. Now, a caller on the show confronted Sunak, saying independent businesses in his constituency are being forced to shut down. Sunak insisted that small businesses are doing well, though. The Prime Minister stressed repeatedly that halving inflation was his biggest priority. Now, Sunak also blamed strikes by health workers for the long waiting lists at the National Health Service. This is as junior A&E doctors who had called in said blaming the strikes by health workers is not right. Now, he added that the health staff is undervalued. Strikes by health workers in the UK have hit the already fractured NHS hard. Now, Sunak also spoke about his pledge to stop the small boats coming in from across the English Channel. This comes after health and safety officials prompted a further delay on the use of Baby Stockholm, the barge to house these asylum seekers. However, Sunak rejected the suggestion that the plan is chaos. Our correspondent Alex Isaac has been watching this story, and actually quite a bit to unpack there, because I mentioned these strikes from the NHS. We've got an abundance of strikes going on, as well as, a whole plethora of them, although some deals have been struck. How is Sunak doing, do you think, in regards to getting through his mission of reducing inflation by half by the end of the year? I mean, that's quite an ambitious task, and also stopping all of these strikes.
That is exceptionally ambitious, and I do believe that he was putting those five priorities out to try and allay the fears of the British public after having that turmoil we had after Boris Johnson left, and that intermittent we had with Liz Truss, and of course we had a whole issue with our finances there. But it did seem even back then that it wasn't really likely to be happening. However, he can clearly say that the reasons are the Bank of England are going to be putting interest rates up. He's talking about the strikes that they're ongoing a couple of days after each other. Now, of course, the unions, the BMA specifically, the Doctors' Union and the RCN, the Nurses' Union, are outraged by the idea that this waiting list has been put upon by the strikes. This waiting list, to put it into perspective, has been around for years, and sadly it doesn't seem to be going down any further. COVID really put a real problem in the works there, a huge spanner in the works, because it made people not go to their appointments. There was issues with trying to get waiting lists down then, and they just kept racking up. So the strikes, of course, have put that on top of it, but the problem was already there, and it wasn't looking like it was coming down. Unfortunately, the reason why behind the strikes is due to monetary and working as well. So there are a lot of problems going on within the NHS. Those waiting lists are just one of them, but it does really need to be dealt with as a whole, and that's something that we keep hearing discussed with regards to virtual wards, to potentially using some AI as well within hospitals. So there are talks, but nothing seems to be done. And will anything happen before the end of the year? Well, something needs to happen. People are getting quite frustrated. The Bank of England, as you rightly say, is going to be talking around lunchtime, and people are going to be worried about their savings, whether or not they have a mortgage. All of this does trickle down to the average UK person, wants to just be able to get a good wage for the work that they do and able to put food on the table. It doesn't really seem to many people that those two things should be difficult, but we are facing an uphill struggle in all sectors.
Indeed. Alex Isaac, thank you so much, covering a vast amount of ground for us today here on WION The World as One. And as you mentioned, we do have the Bank of England's decision coming up. We are expecting an interest rate hike later on around lunchtime here in the UK.